Hello, everybody. This is Eliz-Sha from wisdomseekers.net, and we are here on a discussion, not doing interactive, unless you ask questions about what we're talking about or similar. And I'm very lucky. The sound is off. I don't have to worry about it. So what we're going to talk about today is an interesting subject for me, and it's efficacy while being spiritually ethical. And being spiritually ethical may not exactly be what we consider ethical. Like, for instance, people don't think it's ethical to let other people hurt, be in pain. But I do know that we cannot save everybody, and we allow the people to go through pain because we know it's good for them. We know it's good for them because that's the only way you're going to move spiritually. So what's your comment about that, Linda? And by the way, this is Linda. She's one of our readers.
Hi. I love to explain what I call the butterfly process. And, with my intuitive self, I still have a really strong left brain. And they have scientifically proven that if you find a butterfly emerging from a cocoon, and upon observation, you can always see that there's this teeny tiny little hole, and the butterfly struggles and wriggles, and it looks like painful and very tumultuous for it. But when the caterpillar gets into and builds the cocoon, the body is really, really fat, where it's eaten and eaten and eaten and plumped up. And so when it grows the wings contain an a little skeletal, a tubular skeletal system within the wings. And by the butterfly wriggling out, it squeezes the excess thoracic fluid. That means the region from the middle that was the big fat caterpillar body, because we know butterflies have skinny bodies. And that excess fluid fills up the tubes in the wings so that the butterfly can fly. If you come across one and were to open the cocoon for it so that it would not struggle or appear to be in pain, the butterfly's wings would open up, but they would never be strong enough to fly, and the butterfly would walk its entire life. And so I try to remind myself of that, especially when my kids were older and I would see them doing stuff, and I was like, I hate to watch this, but you do you. These are the choices. We all have choices. We get to pick whatever we want except for the consequences. And I would tell my kids, no matter what happens, whatever mess you get in here, when you need help, I'm right here. But I'm not putting myself on them.
I did the same thing, actually. I figured it's far better to let them fall on their nose while I'm here than for them to fall on their nose when I'm not around.
Yes. And when they were older, I'm, not advocating letting a toddler play in traffic or anything crazy like that. But this is how we learn through our own experiences. And, nobody can go online and get a little card and learn how to swim by reading about it. We got to get in the water.
Exactly. And that's one of the things. And that's what, and I'm not trying to be particularly nasty about it, but a lot of people who are spiritual think you're supposed to save everybody. And it's not possible. It's not logical even. And
well, I think it's natural for those of us, especially empathic, who can feel others' feelings, and we want to, but at the end of the day, free will tops everything in my book.
It does.
And, I can remember when I was a teenager, and my mom and I would be nose to nose, and she would be going, "You're making a mistake." And I would say, "But let me make it." And that's how I would learn. And, nothing's killed me yet. I'm still here.
Yeah. I had the opposite. I was cocooned.
Okay. Yeah, I was for a long time.
I wasn't allowed to do anything. And it took me a long time to learn how to live properly in the world.
Yeah, same. I mean, it was literally like my last year or two of, being a teenager when I just like went completely the opposite direction and went, I'm leaving, I'll be back in a few days. And,
Well, you beat me. I think I was like 26, no, 25, because I remember when I was 25, I moved to Edmonton and I met all these really spiritual people and I got deeply involved and it sure took me a long time to learn how to behave right.
It did. It took me a long time to behave right as well, but I mean, good grief. By the time I was 25, I was married with 2 kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I had a really long childhood.
yeah, my childhood was, a decade or so, but I always remember my dad saying, we all have our free will. Free will is
have a
most
special
important. And I know I've talked to some people who even believe, don't even pray for someone without their permission. And I don't know that I would take it that far myself, because I feel like, and I know with my pendulum work or anything like that, I always do check in with the other person's higher self to be sure that I have permission to do some kind of healing or something like that, because I don't want to trample over them or, heaven forbid, put them in a healing crisis that they might not be ready for, because I'm told I can pack an oomph. I'm so sorry.
I did that once too before I put somebody into a healing crisis and he and the healer, his own, I didn't do it on purpose. I just
We never do.
never do. But I did this and boy, did they yell at me. I guess I straightened this guy's spine too fast. And
Oh no.
yeah, I was 20, I was 27 or 28 at the time.
And there's so many like personality traits and emotions that go with subluxations in the spine, bless his heart.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It was pure ignorance on my part, but I just looked innocent as okay.
Oops. Oops.
But I mean that was many moons ago, but yeah, I never forgot that. And because of that, I'm very careful.
Yes, of course. Because I know psychologically, they say if people are ready to make a change, that the average person considers making that change 3, 6, sometimes 9 months before they ever start taking action. And that's okay. And that's normal. And I think with little baby step healing things like how you work, you can kind of speed it up a little bit, but it's more likely to stick and it's more likely to help a person evolve into another level of themselves at the different bodies when you do it that way.
And I have come to the conclusion over the years that if you take half a step even, and you solidify it, you're not likely to slide back. So it's better than 5 steps forward and then sliding back 3.5 or 4 to take a half a step and become strong and that becomes who you are.
Yes.
And that's so for me, I mean, a lot of people say, oh no, do it now. I can do it. I can handle. I have never been able to I've never seen anybody who can take it full on and handle it.
There have been even cases of, I know I keep talking about science, but
but that's interesting.
It entertains me. People, if you've ever read Faces or anything like that, the personality shows in the face. There have been people that have gotten nose jobs. And within 6 months, their nose looks the way it did before because personality didn't change.
Yeah, exactly.
Their body is manifesting through the physical, and the body morphs because, we're symbiotic living on the planet with our body.
People who've been married for millions of years together, they look alike. One thing that made me laugh though is we had a Boston Terrier and I remember walking up to the car one day, and the Boston Terrier and my dad were sitting there side by side. They looked alike. I thought, okay, yeah, that dog belongs to us, to my father. But yeah, I know. And there's a lady, and I won't say her name because she just got engaged a couple of days ago. I saw a picture of her and her intended. They
Yes.
look alike already. And I think, well, okay, this one's going to be a good marriage.
Well, I mean, doesn't that bode to compatibility?
Yeah.
I mean, because anybody that's been married before knows the roommate issue is an issue. Like you've got to be able to cohabitate.
Yeah.
And so that's good. They probably have, similar preferences and similar opinions and like a lot of the same hobbies. And that's so wonderful for her.
And also, she's a spiritual human being on a very highly evolved spiritual path. He has to be with her on that level.
Yes.
So, and to me, everything falls back to spirituality. So, because I think that's, hi, Jennifer. Because I think that's, for me, that's the number one reason for being. And that's why I have different belief systems quite often about efficacy. And efficacy, that's the wrong word. I have different belief systems about, yeah, no, I was right. Pardon me.
Efficacy.
Not efficacy.
Ethics.
Yeah. So, for instance, one of my feelings about love is it doesn't matter who you love, but it does matter how you love. You want to love unconditionally,
right?
Which means whatever that other person does, they do, but you still love them, but without expectations.
Right.
And I find that very hard, actually.
Right.
To love people without unconditional love. I have to go back over and over and over to redo it.
Mm-hmm.
But and I know, but it is to our spiritual evolution that we can do this. So, which means, like, for instance, if we're in a marriage, the marriage does not work.
Mm-hmm.
You, instead of hating that person, you put that person into a ball of unconditional love, and then you say goodbye.
Right.
And I had to do that. I had to learn the hard way. I learned that the hard way. I had a 50-year-old marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I could not stand the human being. Still not fussy about him.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that he made me who I am today. If it hadn't been for him, I would not be me now.
Right.
And who I am now, kind of like.
I kind of like you too. But yeah, it is, because there are certain things that, I mean, you could look at it as compatibilities or even value systems or things like that, where, we have deal breakers, but that doesn't mean that you don't love them. And one person may want a really big family and have a load of kids, and the other person is like, I want to be one with my partner and just me and my partner, and we go and do, and that it's just different preferences. And I feel like when you sometimes it can happen in lessons and things like that, when people are doing things that it may be timing, you may have experienced the similar lesson, but years, even decades before, or it may be a lesson that you don't have. I feel like in our soul contract, come down here with, and I'm saying down in like the, physical to be on the 3D, planet from that. We just, we're drawn to certain things, but we forget. So we can come up and have one person is just going through that lesson and we're just not about it, not willing to have it, not willing to whatever, but that does not mean that we don't love them
Uh,
with our whole heart and soul.
well, honestly, I didn't love this guy.
Right.
I didn't love him with my whole heart and soul. I actually
Right.
despised him. I had to learn to love him
Yes.
after we broke up, after we walked away.
And sometimes you can learn to love them as a fellow human being on the planet, since we're all connected.
Yep, exactly.
And
And
that's it.
that's how I work with this guy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is for me. It was a heavy duty lesson. It took a good 2/3 of my life, which kind of sorry about
Yeah.
that I took that long. But this, what else can I do? It's already happened.
I mean, good grief. Could you have gone through that lesson in a third or a fifth of the time and survived it? Because that would have been a lot.
Yep, and I wasn't at the spiritual level I'm at now. Not even,
Right.
I was on a spiritual path. I thought I was pretty hot stuff, actually. But no, I couldn't have.
Right.
And the fact that I literally hated him would indicate that I was not as highly evolved as I thought I was at the time.
Right. But the opposite of love is hate, is indifference. So you were feeling something for him.
No, I actually got to that place. We had a fight, and he had a tendency to tell me that he was going to leave me when we fought. And the last time we fought, I took off my ring, put it out on top of the fridge. I was done. I was indifferent.
There you go.
So it took me 15 years to learn that.
Yeah.
And as the old saw goes, I got 3 beautiful children out of it. It was worth it.
Definitely.
So, excuse me, I forgot my leg pills. So and where's the efficacy and ethics in that? As when I went into it, I was at one spiritual level, and I thought, I made the mistake of thinking that when you marry somebody, you become partners, and that you work together to do things, and that didn't happen. And because it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, I was not honest.
Right.
I wasn't spiritually honest. I mean, back at the time, people would say, well, do this, do this, do this. I said, I did all that, and I had, but I wasn't honest to myself.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult part, is to because you have to have a certain level of self-awareness to be honest with yourself.
And I didn't have that yet. And that's a very important part for people to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
That everybody is at a different level.
Right.
And you can't expect them to behave in certain ways. Even if you're at a high spiritual vibration, you can't expect everybody to be at that level and understand you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think about that? I know you have very strong thoughts on that.
Say that one more time.
So you can't expect everybody to be at the same spiritual level that you're at. And so, because everybody comes in, and I had this discussion earlier today with a lady, and it was very interesting. So the spiral tarot, everybody's on the level of the path, right?
Right.
Yes, but isn't everything interconnected? Because I sent out a video on quantum theory.
Yes.
And I said, yes, we are. But if we've chosen to learn a level at the beginning, which could be that that we have chosen to learn how to live a negative life. That is still just a choice. It's still a lesson. Everybody is everybody is interconnected, but not in the choice of lessons we have chosen to learn. We might have chosen to learn to be a thief on the street and steal people's hubcaps. Or we may be at a level where we go, okay, give me an apple, universe, and there it plucks out of the ethers.
Right.
But we're still equal. We're still there, somewhere in the quantum theory, we're still equal.
You were still equal in value. And I think it kind of goes back to, what you were saying with the contracts that we decided to. And I think sometimes it goes, some of us have just been here longer, not on the planet, but in existence longer. And there are some souls now who might come across as very young. However, they were just created in existence with a lot of knowledge that those of us that are really older souls learned through experience, but everything is an experience. And so I believe the whole purpose of us incarnating on the planet is to have experiences, I don't believe in, and I was raised in a very, very strict, what I would define as a cult religion, because it has a very strong cultural aspect to it. But I don't believe that there's like this set way, and that there's, there's a book that defines what's right and what's wrong and things like that.
Yeah, one level there is.
At one level there is.
That's where the spiritual efficacy would come into play.
Right. I'm of the mindset now that I do something, I observe the consequence, and then I internalize, did I enjoy that or not? Do I want to repeat it? But I don't define anything as a mistake.
No.
Nothing is a mistake. Every action that I take is the whole reason that I'm here. And sometimes taking no action is part of growth and things like that. That's the very first step of, cellular division, is not doing anything. But we can go in and we can meditate and things like that. But living our lives, we kind of look at the consequences of our actions and figure out and develop what thoughts we want to expound on, what type of people that we click or vibe with, what types of behaviors that we want to repeat and that we want to bring in. And sometimes I know through spiritual growth, we all have what's called the sick comfort zone.
Yeah.
And habits that are not quite beneficial, but they're still habits. But it doesn't mean that, I may never get off my spiritual training wheels. I don't know. But
you know what? There's a theory that Earth is the last place that we can reincarnate. And only those people who are going for their doctorate can come to Earth.
Right.
So dang hard.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And there have been times where, I'm not trying to talk about me, but my own experience is what I truly have knowledge of, is I think, okay, based on everything that I've gone through and all the steps and the crises and the trauma and the drama, and that I must have been a snotty little know-it-all on the other side. And there are times that I'm like patting the mat. I'm out, uncle. I'm done.
Yeah.
I just, but at the same time, you just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
And because I have that, then I can sit back and go, okay, other people can experience that.
Mhm.
They learn from their consequences. You
Uh,
know, and I will, pray or send light and love or things like that for someone.
what you do
Yeah.
with your pendulum healings, they do some
Yes.
amazing things. And that
Yes.
is, I was middle of the night, well, my middle of the night, 3 to 5. I was awake and I'm sitting there going, you know, and I'm trying to stay on the razor's edge while I'm doing this. I'm going, I can do some really different things that other people cannot do. And I'm trying really hard to look at this from a neutral position and accept that I can do these things.
Mm-hmm.
And because the razor's edge is a razor's edge, it's very difficult. It is difficult to stay on it. Sometimes we fall off.
Right.
And I keep telling people, fall off, it's okay. You just get up again.
Right.
Yeah, and how many times you get off and fall off? There's an aside here. I know that there's some people, and it's every single one of us that's gone through reincarnation, who have done the same lesson in 68 different lifetimes. So just keep on doing.
Right. Right.
But I was sitting there last night trying very hard to, okay, this is a fact, live with it, accept it. And that is part of the efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
Things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Accepting it, right? And I think I did a tangent there. Did I do a tangent?
No, you're fine. But I mean, we make things happen, and sometimes it kind of, when I was studying hypnosis, I had this one instructor, because I went to a couple of different schools for it. And the most common type of hypnosis that I do now, the instructor would say, hypnosis always works. It may not look like what you have in your head when you start, but
Yeah.
it always works. Something always happens. And I think ethically, of course, as spiritual healers or whatever, we can, do things and create situations and things like that. But it's not our place to rob someone else of their lesson, nor is it our place to put our will on someone else and mold them into what we want.
But
Because
that's a spiritual level, right?
yeah, that's a very spiritual lesson. I mean, I'm not one for somebody telling me what to do. I never have been.
Well, according to my palm,
Yeah.
that's me.
And it's funny because you know what? My daughter gave me the highest compliment a couple years ago. And she had pointed out how even though she had yet to have children, that a lot of her friends would come to her for parenting advice, because she said, I always told them whatever you would tell me. But she told me, she goes, you know what, Mom? She goes, sometimes you gave us choices that didn't feel like choices, but you never, ever told us how to feel, what to believe, what to think. You let us grow and be our own person. And I hope I'm just like that when I'm a mother. And it was of course, it was a waterfall as soon as she said that. But it really is the true aspect as we ascend into 5D. I think we're living the golden rule on a whole new level.
That's the whole point of today. Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what the point I'm trying to get across without having the right words.
Well, because it's happening way faster.
Yeah, but
so faster.
And we don't know the rules. People say, what about, and this is brand new. There's no roadmap. And so what was ethical a year ago may not be ethical now.
Right.
And what can I tell you what it is? No, you have to find it out for yourself because it has to come from inside of who you are.
And so each different person can have their own set of rules.
Unfortunately, yes.
I mean, when people come into the shop, you know, and where I work and things like that, and they'll pick something up and they'll, you know, have a bottle of a supplement or an herb or whatever. And of course, everybody wants to know, is this going to work for me? How is it going to work for you? And I have to say, every body is different, you know, and I think spiritually, every being is different.
And I cannot talk to one person the same way as I can talk to another.
No, but I think one of the benefits from us is we can build you know, we can communicate with people one at a time by being able to tune in the way we do. And that's one of the gifts of being empathic. I know empathy can be like a curse, but it's a gift.
Well, there's a thing about being empathic that people don't understand, and it would benefit anybody who's empathic to know this. Immature empathic allows, feels, and releases. An immature empathic will bring in, feel, and hold on, trying to fix it. You can still fix it, just don't own it.
Yes.
Okay, that's an aside, but that's one thing I noticed. People think empathic, you got to hold it, and you don't.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to. But yeah, I think the biggest thing with efficacy and ethically practicing efficacy now is, as we're ascending, as people are trying to find their life purpose, as people are trying to honor that we're all one and how can we contribute and how can we grow, as well as within our own lives, practicing our manifestations and things like that, it's on fast forward. And
I think it's on a conveyor belt.
And so you do have to be really careful, because if not, it'll come smack you in the face.
You know, I tell you something, it's been quite a few years since I got smacked in the face. I got smacked in the face twice in the last 3 months. I'm going, what? I go, okay, I guess I deserved it, but
we're leveling up, and it is a lesson, and we're learning our own lesson. And part of our own lesson, you know, is taking into consideration, you know, the planet, other people, you know, where our actions have consequences that affect others. And today, our actions have consequences that are bigger and faster and more, and I think affect more people.
I think so. Yeah, I that butterfly effect, where with the butterfly flaps its wings,
it goes.
Yeah. Atlantic will have a storm.
Yeah.
Okay, totally forgot what I was going to say. That's a butterfly effect. But we do have, but it took me a long time to look at that and go, okay, I see what you're talking about, because it didn't make sense to me. Right. The butterfly effect. And then I saw it actually at work.
Right.
And one thing that I like, the story I like, is if you smile at somebody on the street, a stranger, that smile will go forward 6 months. And that makes my heart feel good. So I try to smile at people. Well, I have no idea who, but then I'm really good. I'm not one of these people that's kind of shy either. I'll talk to just about any stranger on the street.
I have to flip it on, because sometimes I can be very shy on the street, but at my work, I'm very, you know. Yeah.
But again, it depends too with what mood I'm in. Mm-hmm. There's sometimes I'm in the mood with, please don't talk to me. I want a cocoon for a few minutes.
Yeah, and that's important, especially as we, you know, things are speeding up for us to kind of take time
Uh-huh.
and reflect.
One of the things I tell everybody, I say 49% look after yourself. The first 49% look after yourself. Second 51% in service to others.
Right.
And what does that look like? Somebody asked me that today. How do I know when I'm looking after being the first 49%? And the only thing I could say was look after, if it feels good, look after yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I do suspect that most of us here, like you and I, who are on this, who come in specifically to help this forward progress, we have a
Mm-hmm.
tendency to do a little more putting other people first and ourselves last.
Yes. And I think a lot of us are conditioned that way. And, that's one of the observations you could see in your body, your mental health and things like that, that if you don't fill up your oil lamp first, you don't, on the plane, put on your own oxygen mask so that you don't pass out trying to help somebody else. And, that's very important. It's not always the go-to, but it can be developed just like anything else, right?
I'd say sometimes I'll find I've been on from 8 o'clock in the morning till whatever time at night, and I stand up and I go, okay, I'm going to bed because I'm done.
Yes.
and I'm going, I didn't realize how much energy I had put into the day.
Mm-hmm.
Till I go, oh, I can't think.
Right.
So in a case like that, obviously I didn't put myself first, which is
right.
it's not healthy. It's not safe.
It's not.
And
Ask me how I know that one.
I was just going to point fingers at you, actually.
I know you were. Oh my goodness, it's bad.
Yeah. And the people who don't do that, hats off to them. Because I can't do it. I want to do it. I consciously think I'm going to do it, but I don't make it.
But I mean, I see improvement and I measure improvement in myself by the consequences that I don't like experiencing happening less frequently, less intense, and a little less of a recoil.
Which is the recoil is probably in your case one of the biggest things, because I know you fairly well and you feel things way more than I do. Because I have triple air, right? I'm a Libra with the Gemini moon, Gemini rising.
I am a watery wreck.
And so I keep saying I'm an airhead.
I have my heat and my passion of Aries, but my sun is on the cusp of water. My moon is water. My rising is water. Like I have feelings, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I literally will go through times that I will, out of public service, I'm like staying at home, not talking to anybody because nobody needs to hear what I might say.
I have to say, I think being an airhead is probably so much easier, because there's lots of times people go and they're really upset, and I go, oh, cool.
Right. And I have all this water in my chart, but my sun sign is Aries, even though just a couple days in, it is Aries. And so I learned by the time I was like high school and college, especially with guys that don't handle feelings too much, not all the time. People would ask me a question and I'm like, do you really want to know the answer? Or do you, because I'm not really good at diplomacy. And therein again, for me, I can be very efficient with saying what needs to be said.
Yes, you're very, very.
But my dad would always say, say what you mean and mean what you say. And I would add the caveat and try not to say it mean. Because I mean, I could, throw ethics and spirituality out the window, and words have power. And so I will turn and walk and take walks and things like that.
This is where ethics comes in sometimes.
Yes, sometimes you can only be as kind as possible because not saying anything is dishonest.
But sometimes the only saying, because I am, quite frankly, I'm a master with words.
Yes, you are very verbose.
I'm very verbose, but I also can say things, the horrendous things to people, and they think it's a compliment.
And charismatic.
Yeah,
my grandmother always, I'm going to be a little bit ugly right here, just mildly. My grandmother defined charisma as telling somebody to go to hell and have them looking forward to the trip.
Yeah, I can do that.
But I know you can.
Sometimes you gotta be straight and to the point and take a knife and cut it out.
Right, and that's like ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah,
and people that are blunt like that and appreciate that. Because
my daughter is horrendously blunt like that. And some people say,
I would say your daughter is terrifically blunt like that, because I'm that way and I appreciate it. And I have never been offended at anything she's ever said. I appreciate
it. She's just sitting there. Yeah, okay, sure.
I also never say what I don't mean.
That's true. She doesn't.
Yeah, and you know what? It is very respectful that no matter how it's delivered, to receive honesty.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one thing, Eliz. I liken it. In myself, I am honest.
Yes.
I might be able to sugarcoat my words, but I'm honest.
Right.
That's because I'm too damn lazy to lie.
Yeah.
Okay. Doreen was asking. Let's see. Hope you guys are speaking on energies. Curious so your finds that have percent in the beginning in the moon. Okay, maybe you know this. This moon seems like a hell's gate. Got a real psychic attack in dreams, but once hell is seen for what it is, it goes away. Interesting fact, on the river we have here in BC, the Fraser River, we have a place called Hell's Gate.
I've heard it. Well, and I mean, if memory serves me correct, this last full moon was in Aries, which is, the current god of war. I think it was Jupiter to begin with, but then became Mars.
Yeah, I think it
Aries.
switched over from Greece to Roman, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, and it's like Jupiter ascended and became Santa Claus and let somebody else do all the fighting.
Yeah.
And plus you have to bear in mind that, the moon involves a lot of our intuition, and it is a water sign. So when the moon passes through the fire signs, it's a lot. So, I mean, at the risk of sounding nasty, welcome to my planet, because I have a Cancer moon and an Aries sun, and that's hard to have that fire and that water, because you're kind of drowning each other out. But it is the eclipse, it is growth. I will point this out really quick too. One of the things that I teach and that I learned in my dream interpretation is that if you are having these dreams, the very first thing you want to look at is what time of the night you had something. So the toughest and the nastiest and the hardest dreams are frequently the ones that we wake up with after we've been asleep for 7 to 9 hours, and those are called venting dreams. So we want to acknowledge that the subconscious is releasing something and not replan it back into our subconscious again, because our conscious self-talk reprograms the subconscious. So but you can keep a journal with it too, and sleep on it again, come back to it, and be observant and see what you find out about that. Because some of my dreams that I have that are in the precognitive phase around, that might wake me up between 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, I have literally had dreams of beings around me doing laying on of hands, or I've had visions of seeing like the entire world through a purple flower of life graph and things like
Wow,
that.
that'd be nice.
So I mean, purple comes to me a lot in my healing.
Well, purple
And
is ascended masters, the vibration of ascended masters,
right,
the royal blue.
right. And I never, and I never asked for it, but it's almost those astrological by the ways that
Mhm.
kind of show up when I least I'm doing my routine being a human doing, and then I'll have like some crazy dream in the middle. But yeah, it's spiritual growth. And I wonder what that means for you, because I feel like you, Doreen, on the inside would know what resonates and what doesn't.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to do an ad right here. Linda will do, if you have a dream, Linda will explain how it works. And I'm not quite sure what a price would be, like $45. What do you
You
think?
know me. I mean, I don't do the
Yeah, no, me
business.
neither. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, 45. But I mean, it frequently takes me like about 45 minutes or so.
Okay, yeah, I think $45 for a written, for a dream analysis is to start out with.
Well, and I mean, it's usually more like an interview. Like I've done dream interpretations for you, so I ask questions. Like there's a series of questions that I ask in order of priority to kind of lead
Okay,
someone down a
then
path.
you'd probably, with it's going to be not written, it's going to be face to face. The
At
price
least
has to go up.
100.
Yeah,
So it'd have to be at least 75 to 100,
Yeah.
yeah.
because that's a lot of work.
Well, there's a lot of energy too.
Yeah, and and Linda is proficient with energy, and her energy moves mountains. So yeah, you're paying for that too.
And anyone who's listened to this video knows I started out with my left brain, and so I do not give any readings, anything, even answering interactive questions. Like 9 times out of 10, I give homework and I give suggestions and I give tools, because my purpose is to teach people not to need me.
Yeah, same here. I try to teach people to not need me.
Yep.
And guess what? Most of them become really good friends. So I like that.
Yeah.
We've been on for 45 minutes for
Oh my goodness, I need to
minutes,
eat.
considering we were supposed to be on for 20. Yeah,
Yes.
but we're very verbose, you and I.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd have no idea if we did efficacy or ethics, but we did have a good conversation.
Yes.
Do you have anything you want to add on? Oh, I do. If you want a reading from Linda, at this point, we haven't put her on the website because of events.
Mhm.
And if you want a reading from Linda, get a reading from me, and I will give the reading to and an explanation that the reading is for Linda.
Right.
Okay, and I will send it to Linda because well, I'm still mending, and I'm gonna whine and complain and say and make blame my.
Don't say it. Your mom is going to wag her finger at you.
Yeah, that's true. This is a really funny story, actually. I like it. So my mother passed away about 6 years ago, and I have this tendency to say, bitch, 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 my mother ought to be a dog. She said to me one day, I don't like you saying that. The next day I was talking to Linda and I said, bitch, bitch, bitch. And Linda says, you know, your mom really hates that.
I am a medium, and so I can't turn it off, and the visions come in front of me, and it's like she was scoffing.
Yeah. So anyhow, so Linda is the whole package deal. You want something, you write down what you want to know, and she can do clearings. She does. Explain the clearings you do.
With the
J field, I'm not sure what the ones that you find work the best are the most efficient. I know there's a lot to say.
Yes, well, I mean, I do about 4 or 5 different types of clearings, and I think what humanity needs most of right now, to kind of come out of our own shells a bit, is a lot of us have been, because we have incarnated on this planet at this time, and the planet has been under different types of unethical conditions or whatever. I do remove J seals, the 7 J seals that help connect you to your higher self, to creative power, God, universe, whatever you call it. I also do a clearing that removes a reptilian overlay that can prevent us from receiving healing. And if you've born on this planet past the year 1700 AD, chances are better than not that you have one. And I do pendulum clearings and healing, and the pendulums, I feel I work really well with that because I have so much water in my chart, and it is both energetically, and I was taught, you know, as a hypnotist, that you're programming water, and our bodies are made of so much water. So it's kind of the same principle of like a when we go and we have the dowsing rod and you pick up the tree limb and you're looking for water or whatever, that I'm cleaning and clearing the water, because you can add all kinds of good stuff. But I mean, if somebody hands me a glass of sewer water and pours fresh water in it, I'm not drinking it. I mean, it's got to be, we clear the energy. The same thing happens with what I use with empowered energetics. It is clearing the energy. And I always kind of remove the old, reprogram new. And so the pendulum is a 3-step process. And so it's it kind of mixes it up, sets the blank state, reprograms a new state. And that's my my quickest and my most potent. Although the J seals and the reptilian overlay take about an hour and 15 minutes, and those the people that have experienced that they feel even more, number one, connected, but it's a lot of serendipity. They're like, I just feel like I'm so much more in tune with my life path, in tune with my life purpose, in the right place at the right time. What I'm saying is coming into existence faster. And you don't have to be present. I can literally get a list of names, everybody get together, whoever wants to be on it, and I can do one. I like to do them on a Saturday, which is tomorrow, because that's kind of the clearing day. And so if anybody that wants to tell Eliz-Sha that that's what you want, and she gives me a list of names and you've paid the fee, then I can, you know, let everybody know when it's done. And I think that's it. I do, you know, I do one of the my most common ways of hypnosis that I do now is also a clearing, negating, reprogramming process. And I have literally had people that I did one weight loss session for them like 14 years ago, and they would, you know, maintain that weight loss the whole time. I've done it with stop smoking, and with some types of drug uses that people didn't want to get back to. And the stuff sticks, and rarely do I need a second session. And those are very powerful and very potent also.
They're also any of these that are happening in person, they cost more because it takes a lot more energy to do it in person, because it's just the way it is. So
because I'm tuning into the person, because I'm doing all my energy stuff plus the empathic at the same time.
and I know this, it takes a lot more energy to do it face to face. It's just the way it is. So if you want, you can get all these individually, and we will have a price list up. I have been very, very belated about that, and I apologize to everybody who's asked. But if you want to have the whole deal with Linda face to face, that is a firm 200 American.
And it could very well be like, if somebody's asking me questions, go onward for like 2 hours. So that's a very, fair price.
Well, if they start asking you questions on top of it, then the price goes up.
Exactly. If I'm getting questions in the middle, then it's like 3 services in one. And I do my best to channel, but because of who I am, my own energy gets added and used for the benefit of the other person. So there are times that I'm done and I feel like the strength of a 3-day kitten at the end.
Yeah, dishcloth. And there are times I will tell people, I'm sorry, I am done. I have nothing left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's because I am done and I have nothing left.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so
and I do that, I just say this as my own little add-on, and I'll probably put this out on a TikTok or a Zoom sometime. You can just do this little sound bite, but I do this to honor my body, because I communicate through my body. And 2 things that are pet peeves to me is I never, ever, ever refer to my body as a spiritual vehicle, and it cringes for me to ever hear anybody refer to their body as a meat suit, like bile comes in my throat when I hear that term. And I refer to my body as my life partner, because I cannot live on this planet without being inside the body and be able to communicate with people. I mean, I could exist as a spirit, but then who would be able to hear me or see me besides just the few that are evolved? And my body would not be able to survive more than a few minutes without me in it. So that's my life partner, literally till death do us part. So I don't want to overgive in honor for my body. Yeah. And as well as, my spiritual self.
And it's when we get off, I don't know about other people, but I turn to Elle and say, give me something to eat. I am starving.
I'm like the hungriest caterpillar, and I have all the ingredients for a shepherd's pie in there that I've got to get going.
Okay, we should let you go, because it's it's 6 o'clock here, so it's 8 o'clock there.
Yep.
You've got an hour before you get to eat.
I know, right?
Okay, so I'm going to say namaste. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we must go. And thank you so much, Linda. Boy.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was fun to join in.
For 20 minutes, we lasted an hour.
Right.
Okay, bye.